exist. If you press the yellow button and you meant to press the green button and nothing happens, you need to know that the yellow button stops the machine and the green button makes it go. And it is amazing how many people don't realize what the functions are. Or if somebody inadvertently hits the Z in the middle of it and your display is showing X, Y, and you don't know how to switch it back, I mean, that's happened to us during the day also. So just know what the function buttons are, or know what the function of each button is. And this is the biggest thing that I found. I mean, treat your laser like it prints money, because it literally will for you. If you run it, and you run it the way you should, it's going to be almost as good as printing money. And I said that to Joe earlier, and he said, and it's even legal. So, you've got to raise the laser in your store to the level that it deserves. And in my store, it's at the top of the heap. I mean, it's the most important thing in our store at this point, other than Bibles. Okay, now this is the big issue, the customer problems. And after listening to all day, all the other events, I think probably every one of these has already been touched on. The amount of time it takes to assist a customer grows exponentially through the number of choices offered. Make sure you don't offer more than 10 or 12 fonts. Does everybody know how to set that in your software? I mean, that's an important thing. And the reason why is we've had customers that's gone through the whole list and then they get to the 344th font that they want to look at. You've got to lead your customer rather than let them lead you. Because once they see that you click on the true type fonts and you see that list of, in my machine it's like 434 different fonts that are loaded on that computer, you can spend the rest of your life trying to get them to pick one. So just never give them the opportunity. Have the list of fonts that you offer available, and don't go past that. Again, we're back to talking about critical days on your heavy days. The next thing with customer problems, I made the mistake the first week we had the machine of saying, I can put whatever you want on any piece. Set the machine up, got it running on Thursday. Customer came in on Friday, wanted one of the 18 by 15 wood plaques, and handed me 2 pages of text. Okay? We've learned, don't ask the customer what scripture they want. Ours is a Christian bookstore, so scripture or what's saying. We suggest to them, and somebody said that in the earlier meeting, 99% of the time, if you suggest something that's appropriate, the customer's going to accept it. And we suggest things that we've already got in the system, that we've already proven, that we already have the scripture reference there. I mean, we don't open it up wide anymore. Yeah, Joe?
Hey, Jeff, there is a button. It's a tool to, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm losing my vocabulary here. But if you want to count characters and assign a price per character,
right.
It's a little dollar sign in your software. So if you could, if you are going to be typing something, you can say, we'll be happy to type the Gettysburg Address on this. It will cost you 3 cents a character.
Yeah.
And select that and calculate it.
Well, and that's an excellent point, and I'm still, as a business decision, debating that. But again, trying to focus on the critical days when you don't want to stop and do that. Make suggestions and have items out there that already have the suggestions on them. Again, I was trying to keep things kind of cute, but she's talking about Habakkuk 23 or 2:3, and then Zephaniah 2:1. There's still 7,900 she hasn't tried yet. Maybe the guys will get their piece sometime today. And literally, we've had customers that do that. They'll come in and they'll say, well, let's try the 23rd Psalm. Well, no, I don't like that. Let's try John. And you can spend an enormous amount of time on the machine making all these changes, and you're not making a penny while it's going on. So you have to lead your customer to where you want them to end up. And like I say, a huge majority of the time, they're going to take the scriptures that you recommend, and that really goes back to what you have on display. I mean, I'm amazed. The little pen pencil set, the 2 rows with, I think it's ZERP. We have it out there with the Jeremiah scripture on it. 90% of those sets that we sell have the Jeremiah scripture on it, because that's the way we display it. So if you give them an idea, they'll go with it, and it makes your processing time go much faster. The other thing that we learned was have a portion of the piece done to where your laser time is shortened. Again, I don't have a pointer, but this little love plaque, and I apologize for the distortion, it's not exactly right. We started doing these from the little squiggly lines on down, having it ready to where all we have to do is put the name and the date on it. It does two things. You have the piece out with engraving on it, so they already see it that way. And the second thing, it cuts your setup and your laser time in half. Because it takes half the time to do the top half as it does to do the whole thing. So you're taking 5 to 6 minutes out of the process every time you sell this. And we've learned that whatever you have out on display, a lot of times they're going to buy it exactly the way you have it. So it just takes time out of it by having it done, and it also gives you product out there to look at that's lasered. Same thing on this, you know, we'd do the marriage prayer all the way down and leave the name and the date undone to where all you have to do is put it back in and add the name and date. So again, on that plaque, you're talking about, well, I think it's like 35 minutes to run it in full compared to 5 minutes to run just the name and date. So if you have the marriage prayer there, all you have to do is put their name and date on it. You've cut 30 minutes out of your run time on a critical day. So that's worked out real well for us. We did the same thing with this. This became probably our #1 plaque around Christmas. We would have a line in the Joshua scripture done and leave the top half undone to where all we had to do was put the names on it. And again, you cut your lasering time almost in half. It doesn't look at it. I mean, it doesn't appear that way looking at it, but you got to remember that laser runs over it. Whether it puts any laser down there, it still has to cover the space. So if you cut all of this out, you're cutting it almost in half in the amount of time it takes to run that plaque. We also found out, we started making holiday-specific pieces. And the other thing that we found out, no matter how fast you can do it, you're still going to have the customer that comes in that doesn't want to wait the 5 minutes to have it lasered. So, Valentine's Day, we made up this. I think we got that saying off. I mean, this is not in the scan book. My wife said, I want some of those made up. And I said, you sure we're going to sell these? So we made one up, we put it out, we sold it. We sold 4 of these the Saturday before Valentine's, just as they sit, with no personalization. So again, if you give the customer less choices, you can speed more product through the machine. I think somebody touched on this a couple of a couple of sessions earlier. We want the customer to approve the final setup. We don't want the customer to stand over our back and tell us, I want it there, and I want it there, and I want it there. What you get into is if you have them standing there watching you do all of the design and they think they can have input into it, they're going to take the lead and they're going to try to tell you. Now, she's not here, so I can say this. My wife is the worst about that. When I'm running the machine, she's looking over my shoulder telling me, no, move it a 16th this way or that way. We learned very quickly that you don't want to do that with customers because a bigger percentage than what I expected want to stand there over your shoulder and direct you to exactly how they want it set up. So what we do now is we set it up, let the customer go wander around the store and buy some other stuff while we're doing it. We go grab them, bring them back, say, will you approve this? Everything looks good, press the button, we go. Rather than keeping them there watching us setting up. It makes the process go considerably faster.
Do you have, like up in their gallery, they have the person behind the counter with this display showing out that?
The way mine is set up is the machine there, my cabinet, the extra cabinet that you get sits here with the computer looking this way. The back of my machine is to the front of my store, which are windows. So I'm standing here doing it and the machine's over there. So it's easy for the customer to walk up behind you and try to, I've had customers walk up and try to take the keyboard and do it themselves. And not enough to justify moving it. But we have to be in control of the process or else it slows down so much you just can't force the amount of product through there. And again, the little lady wanting to move it right or left, and I don't know how many people I've had ask me, can you make it laser and